today, and the channel is going to be Free Energy and Humanity's Future. Greetings and thank you for giving us the opportunity to elaborate on the statement Free Energy and Humanity's Future. Let us begin by saying that free energy is a standard feature of the greater universe, meaning that for virtually all species, there is the existence within their culture the free energy paradigm. And there is a reason why this is so, yet it has not become part of the Earth human culture. So, when we say that it is a standard feature, what we mean is that in the many star systems and planets within that have sentient life, that has had some period of time to develop, then free energy appears and becomes part of the culture very early on in its development. And this is because the default way that most new species, sentient species, are birthed into creation, meaning the very beginning of that species, is to be born with the knowing of their connectiveness to the One and their connectiveness with each other, and their true substance is the light and nothing but the light, which we have discussed many times before. And one of the artifacts of being birthed into existence in this way is to have an inherent understanding that free energy is part of the birthright of existence, and that all that is required is to develop the way in which that free energy will be drawn and then incorporated into the civilization. So, from the very early stages, the pursuit for free energy, which the individuals have an inherent understanding, they have a palpable belief that free energy is something which is available, and it is thought of in a consensus. And so it is just a matter of time until the technology, the methodology is developed to extract this birthright. However, within the solar system where the Earth human is found, the sentient species are birthed into creation, into existence, without this understanding they are connected to the One, they are connected to each other, and that they are in true essence of the light and nothing but the light. And one of the artifacts, or the anti-artifact of being formed in this way, is to not have this inherent understanding that free energy is a birthright which has been incorporated into the all. And so, very peculiar to us as we observe is that the culture of your planet has been very absorbed with the use of what is known on your planet as fossil fuels, where it is the burning of a substance to produce the energy which is available freely, abundantly, everywhere, and requires much less effort and zero contamination to your environment to extract and also to utilize. But this is such an inherent and interwoven part of the fabric of the all that even though your species has been birthed into existence without this awareness of connection and so on, which has suppressed the artifact of having this consensus belief that free energy is just moments away through a conscientious effort to find the way in which it can be extracted. There have still been many within the human field that have been awakened enough on a particular vector which has given them this sense, which is the consensus sense of the greater reality outside of the solar system. And so they have, as individuals or in small teams of people, they have been able to unite around this vision of free energy, themselves discovered the methodologies, the techniques, and developed the devices which will extract the free energy. And there is more than one way that this can be done. It can be done via proxy, because the earth itself is an antenna for free energy. It is drawing free energy from this network which is made available to all life continuously. And so it is possible to use the earth as a proxy and draw this free energy from the earth. It is also possible to draw this free energy from the sun, not through the use of solar panels, which is a movement towards this concept, but instead to draw the energy from the sun, again using the sun as the proxy, because the sun also is networked into this vast reservoir of infinitely available and free energy that can never be depleted. And so again, using the sun as a proxy, it is possible to draw the energy directly from the sun, and this free energy will pass through the sun as conduit and then can be harvested in this way. There are species that have very developed space travel capability, and they have developed the technology to go from star to star as required and fill their reservoirs or drain this energy directly from the stars through a conduit. But also, the most direct and implicit way to utilize the free energy is to draw it literally from what has been called in the human field from the ethers. Meaning, from the infinite energy field, which is literally part of the fabric of reality. And so, in this regard, one does not require to be in a certain place. You do not have to be within the vicinity of a star. You do not have to be on a planet. You can be in the middle of deep space, in Boots Void, even, where there is literally nothing through the effects of an obliteration of that region of space. And yet, even there, one could still have access to an infinite supply of energy. So, within the human field, there have been some who have developed the methods and the machinery to extract this free energy from the earth acting as a proxy. And there are also some who have developed the methodology for drawing this free energy, the infinite supply, from this ether, this energy field which is interwoven into the very fabric of reality. Now, the free energy paradigm is absolutely transformative. When Earth humans finally move into this era, the profundity of the change that will be experienced on an individual basis and on a community, country, global basis will be spectacular. And life as it is known will become very, very different. As a quick explanation, when you purchase an item, energy has been paid for perhaps many dozens or hundreds of times in the manufacturing process. So, in harvesting the raw material, in transporting the raw material, in purifying the raw material, and then in building the machines that will then utilize the raw material or the purified material, and then creating the actual product requires free energy. It requires energy, and the place in which it is done has lighting, has heating, has security. And then when it is completed, it is packaged, labeled, transported, refrigerated. Each of these steps is requiring a payment to satisfy the energy needs. So, from when the raw product is first extracted from wherever it comes, and then it is in the hand of the consumer, can you see that the energy has been paid for perhaps hundreds of times? So, the amount of value that individuals generate through their work that is required to receive a consumer product is very, very large, very disproportionate to what would be required if there was free energy. So can you see, if you had a drink that had gone through these many layers of process before it became the product that you were about to consume, as the energy has been paid for literally hundreds of times before you receive the product, then the product price is very bloated. A very large proportion of that price is being utilized to pay for the energy on all of these many steps. So the individual must generate much more value, must spend much more of their time creating the wealth which is required to buy the product, because so much of the product price is bloated for energy. You can see, if there was free energy, then the amount of value required to purchase the product would be significantly smaller. Hundreds in terms of price. So, the individual, through time as a trade for the value, would need to put in much less of the time of their life to acquire that product. This would mean their time cost, when this is extrapolated across living their entire lives, would be significantly smaller. Much less of their time would be required to generate the value, the wealth, to satisfy all of the needs they have of their life. Because now, all of the needs of their life are considerably less. Therefore, much less time is spent in toil, and much more time now can be devoted to other aspects of being a human being. So, these other aspects are personal endeavors, are alignment with passion, are contributing to the earth human culture and what it means to be a human through the way in which you are most uniquely gifted to do. When you extrapolate this across a global population, you can see that the culture of the planet will become much richer, much more advanced, much wiser, much more compassionate, much more intelligent, and so on, and so on, and so on, because you will be contributing in the way in which you are most capable to contribute your beauty. Now, one has to ask, if the transformative effect is that profound, where the earth human experience can literally become reflective of this concept of heaven on earth, then in the light of this knowledge that there have been humans which have developed this free energy, then why isn't it already part of the human culture? So this transformation and then heaven on earth could be the state of your reality. Well, if you have been watching these channels for some time, then you are probably not surprised to discover, to hear, that it is being deliberately suppressed by those who are focused around the darkness end of the spiritual spectrum. Free energy is very liberating. And when there is the liberation and everybody becomes much more abundant in time, part of this explosion, this Renaissance period where everybody contributes, will be also a discovery. Those whose talents are discovering the truth of the past, the truth of what is really at the foundation of all of the past suffering, will inevitably discover that there has been a unified malevolence which has been pitting itself against humanity, such that humanity does not realize why it is here. And that is to discover the light, to realize that it is the light and nothing but the light, to form the unity of the single being, the humanity being, and then ascend into the fourth density state, where they will exist as a being of spiritual unity, no longer dichotomous, and therefore the cabal around the dark end of the spiritual spectrum will become an irrelevancy that cannot coincide with this new paradigm. Therefore, free energy cannot be allowed to become part of the Earth-human paradigm from the perspective of this cabal of darkness. The transformation would diminish them in many, many ways. They would become less in their authority, less in their power, less in their wealth. Because of course, they control the industries which provide the energy through these unawakened ways to the bulk of humanity. They are the masters of the energy paradigm on planet Earth. But even more so, when the free energy paradigm is finally allowed to flourish and become part of the Earth human culture, which it will. It is an inevitability. One thing that we could say that we are very close to being absolutely certain of is that each species within existence, if it is given sufficient time, it discovers free energy, and free energy becomes part of its culture, its reality. Because in observation, we are yet to discover a species which has survived long enough where this has not occurred. It is absolutely a standard feature of the all. Therefore, with confidence, we predict that this will eventually become a feature of the Earth-human paradigm also. But endemic in this discovery of the free energy paradigm is a triggering within the sentient species that has made this discovery of also abilities for the individuals and the species as the single being to also begin tapping in to this free energy without the requirement of a device. In the most demonstrative way in which this can be experienced is the individuals themselves will start having much longer lifespans. Because when this free energy concept becomes part of the paradigm of existence on a planet, then there is a vibratory shift in the entire species. And this vibratory shift is a increasing in the resonance between the biological life form and also the spiritual energetic. And the spiritual energetic is the infinite being, the infinite source, the true being that you are existing as the individuation of the one. So, there is only one, but the one wishing to have experience created the illusion of more than one, and so it individuated itself infinitum, and you are one of those individuations. That individuation which you are is eternal, immortal, infinite. So, as you are the infinite being, then this infers that you are infinitely energetic. You cannot be depleted. So, when this new paradigm of free energy becomes part of the experience for a sentient species on their planet, then this resonance between the organic, the avatar, and this infinite energetic, which is the true definition of who you are, as the individuation of the one, becomes harmonic, then the flow of energy from this true essence, this infinite immortal which you are, becomes integrated to a greater degree in the body, in the avatar, the organic. So, the energy required for the organic to continue functioning sufficiently becomes less so from nourishment and more so from this individuation which you are. And this is the same as saying from the one, because you are the one. And this is your birthright. The energetic supplement from the one is your birthright. And you are drawing it right now, although in a much lesser extent than you eventually will be in lifetimes later. So, as this becomes more so, following the realization on a global-wide species basis of the free energy paradigm, then individuals themselves will require less nourishment, less sleep, and also live much longer lives. So, there are species that still exist as the physical body that no longer require to be nourished through the consumption and no longer require sleep, because they are drawing on this free energy, the same free energy which will eventually become part of your experience initially as an energy to power your devices. They draw on this energy from an individual basis, and as such, they are drawing to such an extent that their body does not require the nourishment through consumption or the downtime of sleep. However, it is still always a requirement that there is a reconnection or a focusing with the highest self perspective, meaning that even if one does not sleep, there is still some time which is spent just in a quiet contemplation, which you would call meditation, although that does not fully describe the way it is practiced at these high density levels, where these beings are living extraordinarily long lives, many thousands of years in the way that you measure your time, and also never consuming, never sleeping. The way in which they do their meditation is very different, but principally it is the same. So they are honing themselves, so they are calibrating and then tuning the vibration of the avatar, the biological, to be perfectly resonant with the vibration of the higher self. And this honing, this alignment, this tuning allows for the greatest flow of this energy. And then they can maintain this perpetual state of health, never being tired, and eating only when it is a pastime they wish to enjoy and participate in. So eating has not disappeared from those cultures, but instead it is not a necessity, but rather it is a enjoyment. It is a form of bonding or celebration or honoring of a particular part of their culture. So, This is why, in addition to the diminishment of power that is gathered through controlling the energy paradigm on this planet, that the Cabal of Darkness do not want the Earth human to have access to the free energy paradigm. If humanity starts living very long lifespans, then a natural consequence of this will be an increased opportunity for each individual to become much more profound in their wisdom, much more capable in every situation because of the accumulation of a great deal more experience. And this long-living human that is much wiser, much more experienced than all humans that are currently living, due to their long age, are going to be much more difficult to control, to manipulate, to terrify, to scare, to bend to the will of an agenda which does not serve them. You will see in your Earth culture that it is very common for Earth humans to die not of causes which are just drifting off quietly in sleep, but instead through disease, through cancer, through heart failure, through aneurysm, and so on. There are so many ways in which the Earth human life is cut short, which in cultures such as ours literally do not exist. Now, this phenomenon is not as organic as it would appear. The biology and the environment has been and is continued to be engineered in a way that the Earth human lifespan is cut short, such that there is less opportunity for the accumulation of wisdom and experience. Just as the child is very gullible, then also a adult which has less opportunity to gather wisdom and experience is also more gullible than what it could be if it lived a longer lifespan. So in a very deliberate way, Earth humans are now, on an average, ending their lives sooner than is biologically possible on this planet. Because this Cabal of Darkness, the unified malevolence, is continuously toxifying the air, toxifying the food chain, toxifying water, toxifying medicine, and so on, to bring about this direct result of shortening lifespans. You will see that many within this elite group, which are publicly known, because most of them are not publicly known, but there are some who are in the interface between the apparatus they control and the elite level from which they come. And so they are, in a sense, more public. And you'll see that they also live lives which appear to be decades longer than the average working class man and woman. Part of the reason is they are consuming from a pool of resources which deliberately is kept clean, is not contaminated, because they understand to eat that would be to poison themselves knowingly, because it's them who are part of this cabal that is doing the poisoning. And they also have access to technologies which extend life, cure illness, which has been hoarded from the greater humanity such that humanity has this shortened lifespan. So let us finish in this way. As we said, free energy has been already developed successfully on your planet multiple times. But each time that it has been developed, it has been confiscated. Around your planet is literally an array of satellite technology that has as one of its primary purposes to detect the distinct energy signature of free energy. And so, when free energy is discovered, perhaps in the workshop of an unknown scientist at the back of his house, tinkering with this dream of free energy, and yet the following day there are authorities at his door confiscating the technology under the guise of security. This is possible because this array of satellites is detecting, isolating, and then notifying of the discoveries of these free energies. Because the effect would be so paradigm shattering for Earth, humans as a whole, and also for the Cabal, that they absolutely cannot permit it to be, for the sake of their retention of their authority, wealth, power. However, this does not stop them from utilizing this technology themselves. And so, they are participating in endeavors utilizing this free energy, which would seem to the average Earth human as being science fiction. So they are using this technology to exit the solar system and to do a host of other activities which are so removed from the way that the average human is living their life that it could be said it is a breakaway civilization. That they are living their lives in a way which is so markedly different to the typical life for an Earth human that it could be said they are now a different civilization, no longer part of the Earth human civilization. So, understand that this is a great betrayal of the Earth humanity, because this technology belongs to all of the Earth human field, just as in all other planets where the default mechanism of being birthed into existence is with this concept already in a state of understanding that you are connected to the One. You are connected to each individual within your species, forming unity, and you are in true essence the light and nothing but the light. Then when free energy is discovered, it is immediately shared with the entire species. It is not hoarded. This is the default way in which this occurs, because when this threshold is crossed and free energy is shared, then this is the beginning of the Renaissance. This is in the Earth human experience, this will be the beginning of the Renaissance. But for other species, it is not the beginning of the Renaissance, meaning that it is a return to former times, but instead, because there is no hoarding, because it is shared freely, and because it is occurring at this pace of continuous advancement, then it is the acceleration rather than the Renaissance. But the point is, it is not to be hoarded. It is to be shared. And the advancements that those who are hoarding, the cabal of darkness, that have access to this technology, they are doing things and participating in relationships outside of the earth-human field, which should be part of your experience also, and eventually will be. So, we finish in this way because we want you to appreciate what is possible, and what is possible not only sometime in the future, but is occurring right now, although it is being hoarded by these individuals that are stealing the free energy paradigm from the rest of humanity. So, when the cabal falls and the free energy paradigm is allowed to flourish, there will not be a lag during which the technologies which utilize this free energy will develop, because they have already been developed. They are literally in use right now. And when the greater humanity, acting from a place of light, has access to these technologies which are utilizing the free energy paradigm, then the period of transformation during this Renaissance, which we have channeled on before, will be very rapid, very dramatic, and the experience for each individual will be absolutely transformed. And you will be free to explore your passion, to discover the way in which you can contribute to the earth human experience in the most profound way, through your gifts which are unique to you. And when you have a planet of billions behaving in this way, you can see that it is going to give rise to a very different planet with a very different culture. So this is something to look forward to, and it is very, very close. There are already those who are focused around the light end of the spiritual spectrum within the earth human field that are working studiously to bring about the relinquishment of these technologies into the hands of the greater humanity to be shared widely, so that this new paradigm can begin. You are very close. It is very likely that the state of the planet and of the earth human culture and of yourself, by the time you reach the end of your current life, will be remarkably different than it is right now. Transformed in ways that will be difficult to believe. And yet, this wondrous time is at hand, and it is with great excitement that we observe and rejoice at the true earth human emerging and realizing its potential. Thank you, and we love you.